And one of the big criticisms, and I think one of the areas that maybe you struggle with, is this concept of mining. Now look, to most people at home, they don't really know what this is. I'm going to ask you to explain it, please. But I'm told that Bitcoin mining uses as much energy every year as the state of Argentina. So just give us, in a few seconds, why does it take so much energy?
Right. First of all, Nigel, thanks for having me. I like your socks. I guess the viewers can't see it, but you have Union Jack socks on. I have the same socks, actually, so compliment.
Well, that's a good start. It's a good start.
Mining, yeah. So basically, the big problem with cryptocurrencies before Bitcoin, when people start to think of how to make a decentralized currency, is that people could essentially cheat by sending the same transaction, same coins to different people at the same time. And who gets to decide which of these transactions is really valid? Well, we use mining for that. So mining is essentially, it's a bit like a lottery. Miners try to find the next block. They use that by using their computer power. The first one to find it, the new block, decides which transaction is the valid one. So that's how we keep the ledger in consensus. That's how we all agree who owns which coins without anyone in charge.
But you're causing global warming. This is what I'm told.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a false narrative. So first, I think there's several points I could address. So first of all, I think it's a bit strange to single one specific activity out as being worse than others.
But that's where we are.
That's clearly where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, for example, look at sports. Now, I like sports, but maybe someone else doesn't. It requires a lot of energy, right? But people clearly enjoy it. That's why they go to the stadiums. That's why they go on the flights. That's why all the stadium lamps are there. That's why the televisions are there. Well, we accept that people like that. We're not going to tell them this is bad for the environment, don't do it.
All right,
so for Bitcoin, all of a sudden, we do that. Now, the second point is Bitcoin mining is location independent. You can do it anywhere. So that means actually that a lot of Bitcoin mining is happening in spots where there's durable energy available that otherwise isn't used. So for example, there's hydro dams in China. Well, they banned Bitcoin mining in China now, but there used to be hydro dams.
So there are ways. So there are ways of doing it. But here's the thing. You know, Leah was sitting in this chair a moment ago, talking about taking back control, being independent. The state can't interfere. The state can't fiddle. You can use your own money, make your own decisions, be the master of your own destiny. I get all of that. Of course, I get all of that.
Right.
Fully understand it and find it very attractive. But that also means bad guys can use the profits of drugs, crime, racketeering.
Yes.
And this, I think, is the biggest criticism that perhaps sticks. Is there any way that could be regulated, or would that ruin the concept?
Yeah, no, we can't really regulate that. The whole point is that in some countries, actually in the United States, apparently journalism has been banned. Well, I'm referring to Assange specifically. So WikiLeaks, when they started publishing things that our American government really didn't like, that's when they started shutting down PayPal and credit cards and banks and all of that. And with Bitcoin, WikiLeaks could stay afloat. Bitcoin actually helped them. Now, I don't think there's a way to ban the bad people, because who decides what the bad people are? So it needs to be available for everyone in order for it to be available for the people that use it. And yes, that will include the good guys and the bad guys. That's the trade-off we make. We make that trade-off in many other cases in society.
Well, no, I mean, actually, the bad guys are dealing in cash all day, every day anyway, within the existing system. So I get that point. But these are some of the big criticisms that are being made. Ultimately, if we all go for Bitcoin, how on earth does government raise any money? How do we pay taxes on profits we make on Bitcoin? Because that is a negotiation that's going to happen with sovereign states, is it not?
Well, I think the way governments tax will just have to shift. They'll have to tax other things. They can still tax land, for example. There's many things to tax. Really the only thing they can't do is use inflation as a tax. Right now, they're using inflation as a form of tax, and it's kind of a secret tax, and it skews incentives. So if they can't do that, I think the tax system would actually be way more transparent and easier to understand for everyone. So I think that would be an improvement.
Aaron, is this a revolution?
it has the potential to be a big revolution. It's still a work in progress, I would say, but it is early stage revolution, yes.
And how do you see, I've mentioned this already, the difference between America and this side of the pond, where this is still pretty much a speculative investment. That's the mentality of most people. It's going to change, but when do we get to adoption in terms of usage on this side of the Atlantic?
I think Bitcoin is very much a bottom-up revolution. So you mentioned revolution. I think it's a bottom-up revolution, and I think it's a very individual decision when you want to use Bitcoin and when you want to start using Bitcoin and why. And I don't think you can really say that one continent will en masse do it and another continent will not. It's fundamentally an individual decision, and it can happen anywhere at the same time. That's fundamentally how I see it.
Because as soon as people understand that it's not just a store of value, but it is a genuine means of exchange, then I think the perceptions in Britain and Europe would change. We're not quite there yet. Aaron, thank you very much indeed for coming on and joining us this evening.